Welcome back to the next episode of the Head versus Heart podcast, where we look at NRL betting and Supercoach from both an analytical and an emotional point of view. Firstly, we'll jump into accountability for this round to see how we went last round. Sorry. So, do you want to jump into the first game of last round, Peter Hayden?
Yeah, no worries. Apologies, I am quite unwell at the moment, which is why you can see we are currently in a Zoom call. But the show must go on. Unlike other podcasts, we don't crumble under pressure. We keep on going. So I got 1 out of 8, which was actually a pretty decent week. Given the fact that Sportsbets were doing a couple promos, I am actually up $40. Again, not too bad. Um, yeah, so again, not too bad if you think about it. So that one bet was Dolphins tipping hitting 8-1. Um, that was the Bostock, Jack Bostock scoring as well as the hammer and the Finns 13 plus. I was absolutely sweating in the last 10 minutes, but it came through luckily enough. Other than that, I tipped a couple outsiders to win, but I got greedy, put an extra couple try scorers in there. I correctly predicted the Dragons and Tigers, but those try scorers didn't come through for me, which kind of sucks. And the Doggies v Bunnies, I'm claiming a moral victory because, in case you didn't see it, there was a silly salmon incident. Obstructed the line, kicker went through and scored, and they would have won that game if not for a silly salmon. Other than that, the only other one I will claim a moral victory for is the Raiders game. They were up by 18 points, and I told the lads I should cash out while I was up a potential $100 or $230 bet. And unfortunately, they crumbled and lost 18 points. Lost a game where they're ahead by 18. Isn't that lovely?
Yeah. So just quickly for myself, I went 2 from 5 on the bets posted on the pod, with a total of $78 loss if you followed just those bets. My total profit for the week was $150.71. So in the green, $150.71, primarily due to jumping on the Tigers at plus 12 and a half early, as well as some other bets in the spreadsheet there. So just another reminder, follow along with the spreadsheet daily. I might be posting early bets in the spreadsheet there. We'll just quickly run through each game so you can quickly talk to each bet, or we can both quickly talk to each bet that we made. So the first game was the Roosters versus the Panthers. I had the Roosters head to head in this one. I also like the Roosters minus 3.5. For myself, in terms of this one, I think the Panthers played incredibly, like absolutely 10 out of 10, at least defensively as well. Played very, very well. And I think that went a lot of the way to why they won that game. I don't think the Roosters were awful, but definitely nowhere near the Panthers' standard. I don't think the bet was a horrible bet, considering the Panthers, I think, played basically as well as they could have. So I think Roosters head to head was, especially getting them outside of there, was a decent bet. But yeah, didn't win for myself. What about yourself in this game, then?
Yeah, so again, I had Roosters as well as a couple other try scorers. Where Domi was in there. But again, like you said, the Panthers are just unbeatable. And that's the kind of performance that you expect from a team that's probably going to win 4 in a row, to be honest. And until they stop losing those games, I think we will keep on seeing Penrith win the grand final. How about you?
Yeah, Penrith looks strong without Cleary as well. It's pretty
Yeah,
crazy to put up a performance like that. But yeah, not really much more to say about their
yeah,
efforts. They were very
it's
good.
not well that.
Yeah. The second game of the round was the Rabbitohs versus the Bulldogs. I had the Rabbitohs 1-12. I think this game went pretty much exactly as I expected. I wasn't willing to take the Rabbitohs minus line, which I think would have lost if you took that. That's why I did take the 1-12 because I thought pretty much they would get a gritty win, get just scrape home, which is exactly what happened. So I'm happy with how
Yeah,
I bet on this game. What about
I
yourself?
still believe the Doggies were a better team, and I think they got screwed by a couple calls, mainly caused by themselves. But the Rabbits won in the end. That's all I'll have to say about that. Why not?
Yeah. And Tracy scored, or you got a
Yeah,
double. So
Tracy scored. All I needed was kick out to get over, and unfortunately, a silly salmon got in the way.
yep. So basically won that one
Yeah,
yourself.
moral victory. I basically won
Moral
that.
victory, moral victory. Loves a
Yeah.
moral victory. Third game
So,
was, so we'll just say as well, we had a side bet on Latrell over 75 and he went 69. I think we'll definitely under either way. So you were up 1-0 in the
I am.
side bets after this game.
Because Latrell just isn't that good this season. That's all I'll have to say.
Yeah, I mean he's fallen off a bit recently, but he
Yeah.
was good to start the season, and I guess we'll see how he goes moving into the next round.
Yeah.
Third game. was the Broncos versus the Cowboys. I had the Broncos head to head. You had the Cowboys head to head, and the Broncos pumped them.
Yeah, by
Uh,
26 points. I didn't
26 points.
see I didn't see that coming at all, did you?
Well, yeah, I bet on them.
Yeah, but
26 was probably a more
26,
was probably higher than I
38-12.
thought it would be. Yeah, but I was confident. Broncos back at Suncorp. Cowboys have been winning against teams that I don't think are very good. So I think they've been sort of pretenders before this game, and this
I mean,
game's exposed them.
they beat Newcastle, so what are you saying about us?
Well, they beat us by one in North. We have an awful record in North Queensland. They just beat us by one, and we haven't been playing as well as we have previous years. So I don't put much stock into that victory. Like if that game's in Newcastle, you'd expect us to
Yeah, fair enough.
win that game.
Funnily enough,
So
though, we actually haven't beaten the Cowboys in the at their home since we got a wooden spoon. So it's probably a good thing we didn't win there.
yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, like I mentioned, like I like the players that are coming in, like a Tristan Sailor, someone like that. I think they can do a job replacing the players that are out there, and I think that the Cowboys were pretenders a bit. So I really liked that spot for the Broncos, and that one paid off for me. So I was looking good. Friday nights do me well. Anything to add on that about that game? About your thoughts?
Well, not really, but I am glad that the top comment, by the way, was someone saying recreate the Drake video, and I'm glad that neither of us have to do that. So
Yeah, we went 1 from 1 on our side. That's
you
there,
one from one.
luckily.
I'm very glad about that. I've already seen your weighing enough. I'll keep it at that.
Yeah,
And the
good to
wife was very upset about the possibility of me showing my weighing to you.
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so the next game was the Dragons Seagulls. I had the Seagulls -8.5, and that was nowhere near. I can put my hand up and say pretty poor bet in this game. Especially if you look back at the statistics, the Dragons have a very good record against the Seagulls at this stadium. So yeah, the Dragons was probably the play in this game, and I missed that one completely. The
Okay.
Seagulls, like on top of the Dragons looking decent, the Seagulls looked awful. Just like so much drop ball. Didn't look like they turned up to play at all. Um, but yeah, not really much more to be said on my part. It's just a bad bet.
Yeah,
What
so
about yourself?
speaking of as well, someone else didn't show up in that game, and that was Zach Daddy. He missed 2 goals, and he just didn't get any ball, which I'm kind of annoyed about. If he scored a try and converted it, my bet would have gotten up, but that didn't happen. Again, Zach Daddy, not happy with that performance.
Yeah, another moral victory because
Another moral victory,
he
indeed.
tipped the Dragons there. So
Yeah.
another moral victory, which is always good. Next game, Titans Dolphins. I
This
didn't
was
have a
an
bet on this
actual
game.
victory for me.
Yeah, this was an actual
Yeah,
victory for
this was an
yourself.
actual victory. Yeah.
Yeah, talk us through your big win, your one win for this round.
Yeah, so I had the Finns by just head to head. Hammer, Bostock. Oh, sorry, no, I had Finns 13 plus, actually doubled up there. So they ended up winning by 16. Again, it was a very, very fierce 10 minutes for my heart, but I got through and the Dolphins got through, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, sort of. I probably expected the Dolphins to win by like like I said, I'm not really keen on playing them in that spot or either team in that spot. So um, yeah, happy that I just let that one go through to the keeper. The next game was the Warriors and the Knights. Once again, I didn't bet on this game as a Knights fan. Wasn't really keen on betting on this game. Do you want to talk us through your bet in this game?
Well, I again didn't really want to bet on Knights head to head either way because I knew we probably weren't going to win, and I hate betting against us just in general. So I chose a bunch of try scorers I thought had a real chance. Being Pong, DWZ, and Pierce Paul, none of which looked anywhere like scoring at all, which is kind of annoying. But again, what can you do? You pick yourself up and you go next week.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Um, the second last game of the round was the Sharks Raiders. So I had the Raiders +6.5 that I got in early, but I also gave out +4.5 as an official tip. Uh, I really liked the Raiders, and they went up 18-0. And in the group chat, you're dropping Raiders 13 plus is so safe. And then
Unbelievably safe. I thought I was so in, and then I told, like, I see that, but should I cash out anyway? It's a 23 to 1 bet. They're offering you $40. And what happens? They lose by 14 points.
Yeah, Raiders going at sorry, Sharks going at 36-4 run, and both our bets lose. So I blame you for that one losing. If I
Yeah,
can beat
apologies. That is
if
that
I
is
can beat
entirely on
Magoo for
me.
one bet, I blame you for early crying.
I probably jinxed it. I do agree.
Yeah, yeah. So poor. But no, the Sharks looked good. They bounced back well, even with all those forwards out. They looked good. So
Yeah,
that'll
they
be a
looked
scary
really
thing when all those
good.
forwards come back.
Yeah, they could be a real premiership contender this year just based on that performance alone, given they had so many outs. Their forward pack really muscled up to what I thought is probably one of the most underrated forward packs in the league, don't you think?
Yeah, the Raiders are like the pack as well. But yeah,
Yeah,
the Sharks just got it done, I guess. But they can do that, I guess. Like they can run away with games with the sort of outside backs they have and Nico in the halves there. They can put on points quickly, so that's always a danger.
yeah,
One
definitely
thing to think
true.
about.
And Nico probably had his best game so far as well, in my
Yeah, I
opinion.
would agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Um,
yeah, final game is West Tigers v Parramatta Eels. What a heartbreaker for the Eels fans having that opportunity to win the game basically on the siren, but fortunately could not be kicked by Gutho. So Tigers win by a single point. What did you have for this game?
yeah, I had the Tigers plus 12.5, and that got up pretty comfortably because the Tigers did win. It's the benefit of getting on early there. I wasn't as confident on the plus 6.5, just because I didn't exactly know how the Tigers or the Eels would show up in this game, especially with Moses out. So I was sort of unsure exactly what would happen. And I know you might say, well, that plus 6.5 bet would have won anyway, so why wouldn't you want it? But it's just more that I was unsure exactly how the teams would play. But at a 12.5, I'm very, very happy to take that line. I think it's a lot of value in that line there. And then what about yourself?
Well, I had the Tigers to win, but I also had Staines and Fatape, their right edge, to both score a try each. I honestly thought this game would be an absolute try fest, and it turns out it wasn't. There were so many errors, and somehow Sivo was one of the best defensively on field as well.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there. And yeah, Morgan Harper as well had an okay performance for someone who's known to be beyond the league in defense. What can you do?
Yeah, I don't know if it was you or Adam that said that they liked the overs in this game, but it went well under the
Yeah,
overs.
well under, well under.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's all the games of last round. Um, in terms of our betting, that sort of sums it up. But we'll quickly mention our super coach performance. Uh, for myself, I just want to update that I actually changed my trades for this round. I changed it last minute to being I boosted, so I went Dill Brown to Plath, Lussick to Appy,
Oh,
and Viliami Fafita to Kai Paul, which didn't end up so well for me because Plath got that sim in, and my sixes at the moment are Plath and Galvin, so they're both missing 2 weeks, which is a bit of a stitch
ouch.
up. Pretty pretty fuming about that, especially like even if at least Galvin like didn't wasn't missing weeks, I could just play Galvin and then hold on to Plath and then wait for him to go up in price in a few weeks. But no, just screwed. I have
You
to
could
do
really
something
say
about
that you're in
that.
sixes and sevens.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, that's one of your best, mate.
Yeah.
Very good, very
Yeah.
sharp.
So I made a late addition as well. I chose to, knowing Tuapiki was out, I thought he's probably never going to play again. So I
Yeah,
used that as a chance to bring in Dom Young, and that didn't also really work for me that well either. He
yeah,
got absolutely dominated that game and ended up scoring about, I think, 30 something,
yeah,
if not maybe even lower. I can't recall, but
yeah. I think you
it
got
was still
30 flat, maybe.
yeah, maybe 30 flat. It was still a rather successful Supercoach round for me, though, as I'm up 10,000, the 10,000 positions to 21K. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm currently sitting at like around 55,000 and down to the 2,000 positions, which I honestly thought I would drop further, especially with some of the performances like your Plath and stuff in there,
Yeah.
which were unfortunate. But from like I haven't put up 1,000 score this year, so as far as I'm going, I'm happy that I'm at 55,000. Like I'm going awfully and still sitting around 55,000. But yeah, we'll jump into this week now, talk best bets, and then we'll talk the trades that we're going to make this week. So for myself, my best bets for the round, is the Sydney Roosters line, and I'll talk more when we get to the game about how I'm finding that line and exactly what I'm betting, and then also the Warriors head to head for this round. What about yourself?
So I'm going single game. I'm going Wires 13 plus and DWZ anytime at 525. I think the Wires go big, and Dallin, I don't think has scored yet this season, has he? If
He
not, he
has
hasn't
scored this
scored.
season.
He hasn't scored in the past 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, I
Either
mean, he
way,
definitely didn't score last game, but yeah.
yeah, I think he goes. I think it's time for him to get back to his average. I think he goes over in fantastic style.
Yeah, I think he scored like a try a game or more than a try a game last year. So
Yeah, exactly.
probably if you believe in it, he's probably due. Let's see.
It's time for him to return to the mean.
Yeah, he scored 4 tries. No, three. Wait, sorry. 2 tries, sorry. Yeah. 2 tries in 4 games. So yeah,
Yeah, it's time
um,
for him to get back to the mean.
definitely
That's
due. Yeah, yeah.
heavily due.
And then trades for this round. So for myself, I'm going Griffin Neem. He had a stinker. He had like 20 something. Going Griffin Neem to Joey Manu. How I'm doing that, moving Cotter up to the front row. And then I'll move one of my, I think I'm moving Burbo up to the second row. Not playing him, but moving him up to the second row position. And then and then I can bring in Joey Manu in the center wing position. Uh, and then we'll have to move one of my sixes out, and I think it's better to keep Galvin in the form he's in. So moving Platt to Talangi via Jules again, moving Strange up to 5'8" just for the next 2 weeks, or maybe just for the next week, and then make a trade for a 5'8". Just because I don't like any of the other 5'8" options at the moment. So bring in Talangi at 200K in the center wing. And then at the moment, I'm going Hines to SJ. I still have Hines and Cleary because I didn't end up making that trade last week. So Hines to SJ. At the moment, I have Grant vice captain. If he goes big, like 120 or something, I plan on looping Grant and bringing Hines back in and making Hines captain for that loop option there, and then I can play Hines next week. So and save a trade there. Maybe make another trade somewhere else, but that's just if Grant goes big. What about yourself?
So just a quick question. So what is your thinking regarding Hines to SJ? I know Hines is out this week.
Yeah,
Is it
so
just because you just need a player playing in that position, given you've still got Cleary?
yeah.
Or do
So
you think
Hines
that
and
SJ
Cleary
is going to go up in value?
need a player in the position. SJ's fallen in price a bit, so I like where he's at. He's got his goal kicking back, so I like him, and then I don't like any of the other options really. Like the other
Yeah.
halves, it's Jerome Hughes is the only other one I would really think about. I got a lot of money in the bank, so I'd go pretty much anyone. And Jerome Hughes is the only one that I would really think about. And just, I don't know, he hasn't been an amazing Supercoach option in the past. And just like an SJ at a 660K, got the goal kicking back. I think the Warriors will look better with CNK as well. So that's why I like SJ there.
Yeah, I was considering about doing the same. Then I realized his break even, I think, is 90 something, which again
Yeah,
kind of put me off him.
it's high, but like I said, I need a
Yeah,
player
you
this
need
week, and
someone. Yeah.
he was break
Sure.
even, fall back down because he had a good score last week, so it'll fall back down after this week, provided he
Yeah.
doesn't have an absolute stinker.
Yeah, no, that makes sense then. Yeah, for this week, I need to shore up my front row and second row. I felt that was the weakest positions for me. So I have traded out. Yeah, so I made some big money moves. I had about 600K spare on the bench. I have then brought that in. So I have gone from Raymond Vitala Mariner, Joe Chan, and Hosking to Tommy Flegler, Carrigan, and Victor Radley this week. Some big money there.
Yeah. Um, any reason that
Yes.
they're all pretty like solid picks? You didn't want to take anyone sort of riskier in that position, or
Well, I only said I said this in the first potty that I was going to keep Hosking in short term,
yeah,
and now that he's injured, now's a best chance that I need to take him back out
yeah,
and cash him out. That I think that 120 grand I made on him.
yeah,
Other than that, again, Vitala Mariner has started to lose value now, so it's time for him to go before he starts losing any further.
yeah.
I think I've cashed out at the peak hopefully, and who knows what's going on with Joe Chan at the moment? Is he
I think
still
he's
out
injured.
this round?
I think he's injured. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got an arm infection or something, so that could be 4 weeks, that could be 4 months, just given how those things go.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be that long, but like if
Yeah.
you have a better option, you can trade him out for sure. There's other places I would be looking to trade before Joe Chan. Like he's definitely not anywhere near my priority list to trade out, but yeah, it's not an awful trade
Yeah,
out.
no, I was looking to trade out Viliami for feeder, but I needed $4,000 to make my trades. So unfortunately,
Yeah,
I had
fair
to
enough.
trade the 30K more Joe Chan, which is so frustrating.
Yeah. Let's jump into the first game of the round now. The Storm versus the Broncos. We'll talk Supercoach firstly. Willison not named for this one. He had a head knock, so possibly missing due to HIA. I'm not 100% certain on that one, but not named, which will hurt owners. Just means you get another week to look at, like to think about bringing him in if you want to bring him in. I'm still not super interested in him either way, but it might be a player that I go to because I do still have both those two Bulldogs cheapy for front row forwards sitting there, which is annoying. But yeah,
Well,
not
I think the
not
problem with Willison at the moment is that there's a very big issue in that if, say, somebody has a blinder or if an injury comes back a bit faster than expected, i.e. Akura, he may not get much game time anymore. And he's already
yeah.
not getting too much.
I think he'll get some solid minutes through the middle as long as he's playing. And at the price point, he's fine. Let's talk about the players that are in for this round. Your boy Pappenhausen, how do you think he goes this round?
I think he goes big again. He's playing the Broncos, but I think he'll get a bit more space, especially with Munster and Hughes. So I think I wouldn't put a captain on him, but I think he does go, say, 70, 80 this week. What about yourself?
Yeah, you could probably consider vice captaining him. I'm actually looking to bring him in hopefully next week because their fixtures get better next week. So yeah, it's definitely a keen watch to see how he goes. You did speak to it briefly there, Munster Hughes back in. How do you think that affects the team and the rest of the team's Supercoach stock?
Well, this is a basically full strength Melbourne Storm now, other than is Nath still playing in New South Wales Cup for some reason?
Yeah, Nas isn't there.
Yeah, I would say that this is a very good option. I think Melbourne are essentially full strength now, and I think if you want a Melbourne player, you should get them soon. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard to get
Yeah,
them now, given their
yeah,
price will probably go well up.
yeah. I think definitely next week's a good week to bring in Melbourne players, given their draw. They've had a bye already, so definitely a good option from next week. But yeah, I think Munster and Hughes help the output of the rest of the team. Um, I think it'll be interesting to see how Harry Grant goes. I have him as my vice captain, as I've already mentioned, um, because yeah, I probably want to captain Joey Manu, who I'm bringing in, and they play a game earlier in the week as well. So
Well, he's
uh,
due soon, right? He hasn't had a big score yet, so he's going to have one eventually.
yeah,
And he does tend to warm up into his seasons as well. So it's what, round five now? He very well could go big.
yeah. Is there anyone else from the Storm that you think is super coach relevant?
I mean, Joe Chan, we've already spoken about.
Yep.
He may not get game time again. He may end up only ever playing 2 games this season, or he may end up struggling to get another spot on the bench, given that everyone else is doing so much better than everyone else may do better than him on his return. I don't know, but
Yeah,
again, I wouldn't be. You do have him. I don't feel worried about trading him out like I did. What are
yeah,
your thoughts on him?
yeah. I'm definitely not trading him out, as I've already mentioned. Let's jump into the Broncos team. Is there anyone you like in that team from a super coach point of view?
Well, I traded in Paddy Carrigan. I
Yeah,
think he is a great leader and he's been doing really well on Supercoach recently.
yeah,
Firm base stock. They seem to be wanting to use him a lot more in attack as well. So that's why I brought him in this week.
yeah. I think he's a solid option. I'm not thinking about bringing him in just because I think he's priced at what he'll score. Like, his. There's no value in bringing in him for me. I think there's definitely better options at the center wing and if you can get center wings in via Jules, or I think there's probably better options at the second row as well. So not an
Yeah.
option for me.
Yeah,
What do
he
you
was a
think?
pick and stick for me. So I thought I'm just going to keep him in the rest of my team now. I can afford him.
Yeah, I would be scared as well with Origin coming up. Like he's obviously going to play Origin, so uh, yeah, that's why I wouldn't be going near him. But Um, Jaden Hunt is there. Would he be someone you think about?
I don't know how much game time he's going to get.
He's starting on the
Especially
back row, so
I'm
regardless.
starting with back row. Oh, maybe. But again, how long is he going to be starting in the back row for? How many games has he
Until
played
Peter
as
Drury's
well?
back. So it doesn't like he'll get another 3 games at least, I think. And he scored a 31, and he's priced at 238 K.
Okay, he could very well help me get rid of a certain Viliami Fafita then. But other than that, unless you're stuck with some other player, I probably wouldn't consider him at this stage. What do you think?
Yeah, not for me for this round if you can help it. Not an awful option to trade down someone if you need the cash, but for me, not for this round. Don't need to go near him because he's only played 1 game, so you can have a look at him for next round maybe. But it's a very short-term play. It's going to be hard to make money off him, so not super interested unless he has a big one. So it's just a monitor for me. Probably not going near him this round if I can help it. Definitely prefer certain center wings if you can get them by Jules or maybe
Yeah,
even certain front row forwards. I think that's pretty much everything super coach relevant. Um, yeah, like a Tristan Sailor, someone like that might become super coach relevant, but he's not this round just because he's only played 1 game. I wouldn't be looking at him until next round if you were going to look at him, and even then I might be scared of getting. I think he's just a fullback. I'll double. Yeah, just fullback on Supercoach, and he's 500 odd K. So
yeah.
not a not an option straight away. But I mean, definitely watch and see what happens. See what his break even ends up at um when he's going into his 3rd game. But yeah, not right now.
Yeah, fair
Uh,
enough.
let's talk let's talk bets for this one.
Yeah, I know it's in Melbourne. I know that Melbourne have all their superstars back, but I still think at 280. I'm sorry, is it two? What's the
285.
It's a 285. Yeah, I still think that the Broncos, as the outsiders, are too good to ignore.
Yeah, for myself. Or did you want to speak to why any other reason you like the Broncos or
Well, I know that I know this gets said every single time, but I think the Storm middles aren't that good, especially now that they're missing one or two players. They're missing Nelson. Are they still missing a? Who else are they missing? Are they still missing Welch, or is he back this week as well?
Welch is playing off the bench?
Okay, off the bench. Okay, fair enough. Then I think there's something weird going on with their forwards, and I think again, even though there's injuries with the Broncos, I rate them more highly. I think they're going to get a bit of a push, and I think that's going to allow the backs to score some tries. How about yourself?
Yeah, so this week I've taken Melbourne 1 to 12. Just to firstly address something you said there, just to use your argument of last week against you, where you said that the Cowboys pack is way better than the Broncos pack. A lot of these Broncos middles are just as poor as some of the Storm middles that you don't rate. I
You are
think,
forgetting I am a massive hypocrite who sees things on a week to week basis. So
yeah, I know that it's not as less against what you're saying, but I'm just trying to make the point like their middles are not
I
um, like neither team's middles are amazing. But yeah, like I don't mind some of the players in that Storm team there, so that's why I am taking the Storm 1 to 12. Um, just to speak more to that, it's the Storm at home. They play a lot better in Melbourne. They're off a bye, so they're rested. The Broncos are off a big win. So, like I always say, the market's not going to miss a team like that, where they're off a big win against what the perception would be generally to the market that the Cowboys are a really strong team. And then if they're a really strong team and then the Broncos can beat them, they must be a really, really strong team. So I don't think the market's missing them. But in saying that, I do think the Broncos are a good team, and I do think they're a team that can keep this game close. So that's why I like the Storm 1 to 12 in this one. Let's jump into the next game. It's the Bulldogs versus the Roosters. Um, Big outs in this game. Several for the Bulldogs. You've got the Fox. You've got Preston out. Um, how do you think that affects the team?
well, I think again the Fox doesn't really make too many post meters, does he? He's not really a high meter runner, so other than his attacking stats, i.e., being very fast, I don't think it's too much of a loss for the Bulldogs. Other than maybe you could argue that he's got that kind of aura of just a senior player about him. I just don't think just the Fox being out is too much of a problem for them. But Jacob Preston, though, I'd be more worried about though.
Yeah, yeah,
What
I
do you think?
agree. The Fox, I just generally don't put too much stock into a winger being out, and Jacob Preston's been very good for them. Gets through a lot of work, and yeah, definitely will miss him in the back row. Although Josh Curran can slot in there.
Yeah, I
Just
wish I'd picked up Josh Curran a couple of weeks
yeah,
ago. If you've got him now, you're absolutely feasting at the possibility having like maybe 60, 70 minutes.
could get close
But
to 80 as well. Kick out like yeah, kick out often has a rest, so he'd probably get 80 to be honest. And because he gets through big minutes already, I think he probably does get 80. The only thing with Curran, his defensive output might be lower, so his base might be a bit lower. But you could easily have attacking output. So I think he would go slightly better than he has been. And if you have him, definitely not complaining about him getting that starting spot in the back row. But yeah, I would just be worried a little bit about his base, especially in this game against a Roosters team that I think will do will do very well. Um, just speaking about the Roosters, you have Dom Young, correct?
I do have Dom Young indeed. I did bring in Condon last week.
If you had the opportunity to take a free go at which Bulldogs outside back would you? Sorry, which Roosters
Roosters.
outside back would you like to have the most? Like you got a Tedesco or Manu or Dom Young.
Well, it's really hard. I don't really have any interest in Teddy at fullback, given I already have Pappenhausen and Ponga.
Yeah,
Unless, of course, one of them gets knocked out viciously, I will probably keep those until the cows come home.
yeah,
Again, Manu and Dom Young, they're both playing on the same wing. So you're just trying to think, is Manu going to pass the ball or not?
yeah.
Do you think that Manu's going to hold it and run himself, or could he possibly put Dom Young through a hole, etc.? I think Dom Young is better because he's cheaper, but again, Joey Manu, if he holds the ball, then Dom Young players are going to be absolutely furious with him.
Yeah, so for me, I brought in Dom Young and captained him. Last week he didn't have that try, like he had that try disallowed and still had a 60 something. I'm, I've always been, I get Joey Manu at some point every year. I'm just a massive fan of his work. He gets through a lot of work and
But
he's
Dom
not
Young
going to
got
have the same.
30 last week. Do you mean Joey Manu got 67?
Joey Manu got 60 something. Yeah.
Yeah, you said Dom Young.
Sorry. Yeah. Dom Young got 20 or 30.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm saying I brought in Joey Manu this week and
yeah.
captained him. Because yeah, like I think his floor is a lot higher than a Dom Young, and I think the Roosters go very well in this game. He's a nice asset to own. He lost a bit of money last week, luckily, because he had poor scores in his rolling average from the start of the season. And from here on out, he's going to make a bit of money because he has his last two scores are good. And I think he's hitting a bit of good form, which is nice. So I'm a big fan. Now that I've said that, they'll probably have an absolute stinker, but yeah, I'm a big fan of captaining or vice captaining him this week if you do have him. And then in terms of like if as like a gun super coach, sorry, a gun center wing, he'd be the number one player that I would be targeting in that center wing position for this week anyway.
Yeah, so one thing though I will bring up is I would probably say that Joey Manu is probably going to have a higher average, but Dom Young would have a higher potential. Dom Young
Dom
could
Young maybe
score
a higher ceiling. Yeah,
he scored 150 in round four, no, round three it was.
Joey Money can go really big as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Joey Money is going to give you that little bit more consistency than Dom Young, which is nice. But I can't knock you for going either option, to be fair. But I prefer, like the way I play Supercoach, I prefer a Joey Manu style of player.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, definitely. So let's move on to the betting then, unless you've got something else to say.
I just wanted to quickly mention Sam Hughes got the start, which is nice. Obviously, I'm still not thinking about playing him, but hopefully gets an uptick in minutes, which would be nice, and then we can sell him on for a little bit of profit, hopefully. But yeah, I wouldn't be thinking about playing him unless you're really dire straits. I think he scores maybe like 30 this week. instead of like the 20s he's been scoring. So yeah, one to watch. Hopefully Jags a try or something, but yeah, just one to watch there. Let's jump into betting now though.
Yep. So do you want to start?
Yeah, so for myself, one of my best bets for the round, I had the Roosters -9.5. I'll have that on the screen now. At $1.87 on PointsBet, if you combine that in a same game multi, there's a couple of places you can find that 9.5. Definitely would much prefer the 9.5 than the 10.5, which most bookies have. So yeah, definitely try and get that 9.5 point line if you can. Um, yeah, just to quickly explain why I like the Roosters. Roosters off a loss are going to be very motivated to win. The Bulldogs lost sort of pressed an important player, lost the Fox as well. I'm not super high on the Bulldogs this year, and yeah, I really like the Roosters in this spot. I think they were unlucky last week, and the Panthers played very well. So I think the Roosters are probably better than what the scoreline showed last week. So yeah, I'm happy to take them at the -9.5. What about
Fair
yourself?
enough. I still think the Roosters are probably going to roll them as well. So I've got Roosters 13 plus. I've got Con Dom double, and as well as a Manu at any time at 14.50. I think if they are going to win, they are going to win through that right hand side, and they are going to do it convincingly.
Yeah, fair enough. We're sort of in agreement on that one. We were in agreement in the Raiders game last week, and that didn't go well. So
Yeah.
I don't
So
know
I
if,
won't say anything in the group chat this time.
yeah, I don't know if us being in agreement in this one is a good or a bad thing, but I guess we'll wait and see for the game on that one. We'll jump into the next game of the round. Knights Dragons. Um, Knights looked okay last week, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I
Recently
honestly
lost.
thought there were probably three good players on the field for us. Ponga having an absolute game. Frizzell was also an absolute king as well. I
Yeah.
was actually considering bringing him on Supercoach. What do you think about that as a concept?
Frizzell, I don't have much interest in. I think that's just because he hasn't had one good score. 580K is not the worst price of all time. But yeah, definitely not interested at all in bringing him in, especially when there's cheaper options that might be putting out a similar output. But like he's probably going to score, like he's probably going to average at his price. So just in terms of like net EV, it's not a player that you want to bring in. Um, but yeah, so you've already sort of mentioned a few players. Ponga's the first one, probably.
Yeah.
I traded Ponga for Latrell 2 weeks ago, and Ponga's absolutely murdered him. So
Ouch.
yeah, if I had
Yeah.
Ponga, I would have been cheering. Wish I didn't make that trade a few weeks ago, but Ponga looks to be back, playing well, got some good fixtures coming up. I think he probably scores well in this game. I think he's definitely a captain option in this game. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Did I not tell you last week that the moment I take the captaincy off Ponga, he goes big? And so I kept the captaincy on him because he went big.
Yeah,
Against the Dragons, I'm definitely not taking the captaincy off him.
yeah, nice. No surprises there. So
Yeah.
he's your captain. Who did you say who your vice captain was going to be? Oh, you
So I
can't.
believe my vice captain will be someone from the first game. I will probably put. I actually don't even know this round. I might have to come back to that.
Yeah, okay. All good,
Yeah.
but it'll be someone from the earlier games. Yeah, so Ponga obviously gone. Like I'll be looking. Hopefully, his price decreases a bit at some point, but like, yeah, he's going to be hard to get to. Um, but yeah, like at some point in the season, he'll be a must-have to try to get to. Uh, yeah, maybe he's someone I can look at sooner rather than later. I just have other fires to put out, so I can't really go to him. But I definitely couldn't knock anyone looking at him. Um, just moving on with the Knights there, the halves, Hastings, Cogger. I know you've been calling for Hastings to come back in. He had the 5 try assists the other week. How did he go? Do you know how he went on the weekend?
So from memory, we lost by about 14. But the thing that I'm really interested from that game is that Will Price, again, is doing absolutely monstrous numbers.
Yeah,
And I'm kind of confused by the concept of a Hastings Cogger half.
yeah,
They seem way too similar to each other. They're both kind of structural halfbacks. They don't run the ball too much. And again, they from what we've seen so far, they seem to get in each other's way a lot. So I would much rather a Hastings and Will Price halves than a Cogger and Hastings. And I understand that, you have to keep players around to give them a chance, but at what point, I mean, he's played 4 first grade games for us now this season. Do you kind of just tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, maybe spend some more time in Cup Cogger? What do you think of that?
I think that's unfair to Colgo. To be fair, he's had 2 games off the bench and then 2 games starting. To flip him out straight away would be um, not a good
Well,
decision in my opinion.
well, you've done the
He's
same thing to the halves that got you to the quarterfinals last year.
what?
So you've already done that to the halves that got you to the finals last year in Gamble and Hastings. You've
The
dropped them
Gambler's
both.
been starting.
Yeah,
Hastings just looked back. I thought it looked like Hastings was injured. That's how badly he was playing
yeah, that's true.
when he was
I'll give you
starting. I'm
that.
happy he's back in though because he's 5 try assists. Looks like he's running the ball more. So I'm happy he's back in now.
Yeah.
Uh, and then yeah, and then like yeah, it's a good thing he's back in now. Hastings Fogger was where I thought they would go. I'll be interested to see how it goes. You've already mentioned like if there could be uh, that clashing in the styles of halves, but I'll be very interested to see how it goes. I wonder if he's maybe just assign one of them to play more, like just run the ball more and see how that goes. But yeah, like it's very interesting to watch and see how the Knights go and how that affects players like your Pongers, your Best, your Yeah guys. Um, yeah, I think it's just an interesting watch and see what happens.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
definitely. I get that, but I want Price in the team as soon as possible. He scored in the first minute of Cup. How crazy is that?
yeah, I mean, to be fair, he's playing in cup. Like he doesn't look like a big body. He doesn't look like he would necessarily fit in straight away in the NRL. Like obviously he could. Like he's tore up in the trials as well. He could
Yeah.
very well be very good for us. But um, yeah, I don't mind giving him a bit more time in cup, especially considering he was playing in the UK and it's a very different style of game over there. So give him more time, get him suited, and then yeah, maybe eventually he comes in if this Cogger Hastings combination doesn't work. I think you give elite Cogger Hastings at least 3 or 4 weeks and see what happens.
I guess fair enough. You have to give them time. So speaking of English blokes, is it
Yeah.
too late to go to Kai Pierce Paul, or do you
I
think
don't think so, bro. He's sick.
he's
Another
an absolute weapon?
65.
He was again doing it so well. He was my number 3 of the only players I thought did well last week. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think he must be a staple for your team. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. 67 and 65 in the last 2 weeks. Looks
Yeah.
really strong. Would love to see him get a bit of ball. He keeps running those block plays. So like he's annoying. I've been betting on him for tries, like to score a try. And yeah, unfortunately, he just keeps running these block plays. So as soon as he starts getting a bit of ball, like running hotlines and then getting the ball delivered to him, he could be scoring massive. He could be
I
scoring
mean,
like
if he could
plus.
run the same lines that Fitzgibbon did last year, he could be on for maybe scoring one in every like 7.75 games. Like he could be an absolute weapon in attack if he knows how to run those lines.
You think he'll score on every try every 0.75 games.
So like what in every two out of 3 games.
But
What no, no
0.75
every
would
three
be
out of four. Fuck. I'm not well, mate. I'm not well.
yeah.
So I'm saying
But
he'll score in every
0.75 would be he
three
scores better than a try a game.
0.75 games. So yeah, no, I meant
I mean, like
1.25. So
he
he
scores
scores
like one
three.
every 1.5 games or something. I don't know.
I was going to say he scores one try every 3 out of 4 games if he runs as well as
He
Fitzgibbon.
scores three out of every 4 games.
Yeah,
3 tries every 4 games.
yeah,
Yeah, I
get
think
the
that's
math
a
up.
fucking high bar for any back rower to score 3 in 4 games. So I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, I think he could jag a try here and there and then score really high, like a
Yeah,
almost 100 type of score,
yeah, no,
would
definitely,
be
definitely.
which would be great. But you're not complaining with the output he's putting
Yeah, no,
out.
not at all. It's all base stats, and he's doing so well at that, so can't complain at all.
Yeah, can't complain. We'll just move on to the Dragons team. Your boy Zachy Lomax that you bet on every week.
Yeah, Zach
Would he be a
Daddy.
player you consider bringing in?
I think there's a bit of turmoil going off the field now. I think it affected him a bit last week, given it's very clear that there's something going on between him and the coach, and I think he knows his time's up at the club. I'm not even sure. Maybe I could see him potentially being moved to Cup for a bit if his performance keeps up, even though he's not really doing too badly. But again, do you really think, like Supercoach wise, there could be a bit of a disciplinary issue? I don't know. But I'd probably wait until he goes down to about 500k before considering him. How about yourself?
I don't think he's any chance of going to cup. He's been killing it, in my opinion, playing for them. Looks really good on the wing. I think the wing's his position. In terms of super coach, I can't consider him though. Like you said, there's that off-field things where he could be signing, like he could sign for Para next week, could sign for Manly. Like I wouldn't be touching him because if that deal goes through, you don't know what he's going to, how he's going to be playing, how's he going to fit in the system, what he's going to do. If
Will
you
he
have
be
him right
kicking
now,
there as well? There's no guarantee he's. I mean, how many other teams would he slot in as a kicker? There's talks of him
exactly,
going to
yeah,
Manly.
exactly right. Yeah,
There's
yeah,
talks of him going to Parramatta. I don't see him kicking at either of those teams.
yeah,
I don't know where he'd go and be the first choice goal kicker, even though I think he's one of the better ones in the game now that he's doing his natural kicking style.
yeah. You're right. Yeah, like he's not gonna, like, even if he's maybe a better kicker than some of the kickers in the other teams, he's not necessarily going to walk in and just replace their number one kicker. Like especially if it's a Moses or a Garrick or someone like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
you probably walk into the Knights and start kicking, but that's one of the
Yeah, probably
few
one of the
teams.
teams. Yeah.
But yeah, so for mine, not a trade in, but if you have him, like you just hold it until something happens, and then you can look at trading out then. Your boy Kyle Flanagan there, mate. You still holding
Flanagan,
Kyle Flanagan?
yeah, yeah. So he's currently at 401k. I do not recommend getting him, but if you do want to downgrade, I guess you could consider him. Uh, I don't really know what you do at the moment. He's too expensive to not have him. But if you're like me and you started the season off with him, you're absolutely cheering. Am
Yeah,
I right?
yeah, mate. Absolute stroke of genius for yourself because both the other two cheapy options in the 5/8 position are now suspended for 2 games in Plath and Galvin. So you're a genius, man. I don't know how you've done it, but you've picked the right one, and then in your position, hopefully Flanagan makes a bit more money, and then in that 2 rounds, you can just flip him off to that Galvin probably, or I
Yeah,
mean
yeah.
Plath
My
as well.
plan
But
is if Dylan Brown keeps on underperforming, I will probably trade him out for Galvin, and Galvin will be my starting 5/8.
yeah,
If Dylan Brown's like form turns around, he will definitely be swapped out for Flanagan. Hopefully, me earning a decent chunk of money in the meantime.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it turned out to be a stroke of genius for yourself.
yeah. Then
Um,
speaking of another stroke of genius, how good is
that's
that?
where I was.
That's a
That's
huge
where I was
stroke.
leading. Yeah, your other stroke of genius, Tom Eisen. If I don't, for myself, I was very off him to start the season, but he just keeps putting out scores. I'll let you take
Yeah.
it from there.
So he's currently first for points per minute out of any starting forward.
Out of so that are those is that assuming there's bench players
Yeah, there's
as
about
well?
3 or 4 players, particularly bench players, who come on. I
Yeah,
think Corey Oates is on a 2 points per minute at the moment because he scored a try.
yeah, and like a Josh Kerr and
Yeah,
Joe
Josh Kerr as
Thomas
well. Yeah,
Burgess.
like out of anyone who gets decent minutes, he has the most points per minute, which is insane.
Yeah, yeah. No one like Josh Kerr's averaging better than him, but the other three above him at PPM is Burgess, Offhand, Gowie, and Oates, and they're not averaging very
Yeah,
high scores. So, um, yeah, he's turned out to be a genius option.
yeah. And
Is he someone you're looking at selling in the near future, or are you just holding him until he's
I will
priced?
hold him for now. I want to upgrade him to potentially an actual center wing gun. But again, if he's getting minutes and he keeps on scoring, he will stay in my starting team.
Yeah. Would you suggest people to bring him in, or
So he's currently at
430
410k,
is
430.
430?
Okay. I would suggest he will probably rise until about 5 to 560, 570. If you can get him as soon as possible, then get him. If you want to bring him in 3 weeks, I would say forget about it.
Yeah, for me, I wouldn't be touching him just because I don't think the scores are going to be maintained. The only reason you get him is if you're flipping him for uh flipping him for a few weeks, but like there's better options if you want to do that. But if you have him like you're in your situation, you're absolutely cheering.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. I did get quite lucky with some of my players.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, two strokes of genius. I don't know how you do it, mate. Maybe we should fucking start renaming who's the head and who's the heart in this, because
Yeah, exactly.
when it comes to Dragons players, at least,
Yeah.
uh, you seem to know what you're talking about. I think that's pretty much everyone super coach relevant. Um, yeah, let's jump into our bets for this game.
Yep.
Uh,
So, do you have anything this game at all, or are you kind
no, I
of
don't.
just
It's
this is a
once
Newcastle
again
game?
another night's game. Not super keen on playing it. Yeah, Knights back at home, I would think probably do win the game. I would hope, but yeah, like not a game I'm looking to bet on, and probably not a game I would bet on anyway. Just because I think both teams can be a little bit unpredictable. But if I you'd have to play the Knights if you're going to play it realistically, because the Dragons are off that sort of inflated win last week, and then Knights looked decent, I think, last week as well, and they're back at home. But yeah, that'll lead to your bet now.
So I think the Knights' left edge attack finally works itself out this game. We've got Hastings back, and we've got Cogger again, who knows that he's in a bit of bother. He may never play first grade again if he doesn't do well. So I think the entire left edge scores. I'm going to go Knights to go up, Chihuahua best and KPP anytime, and that is 34-25.
Yeah, nice. We'll jump into the next game now. Rabbitohs Warriors. Big outs. Alex Johnston for the Rabbitohs, and then Luke Metcalf, Kurt Capewell. The Rabbitohs got the win last week, but they didn't. It wasn't convincing. They didn't look great. For myself, I still have Latrell. If you have him, you hold him. If you don't have him, you shouldn't be looking at trading him in. He's not been impressive, and there's plenty of other better options at fullback.
Yeah, he's like you said, he's doing bang average. Well, he's actually probably a bit above average for fullback, but again, there's so many better options, especially at the same price point as well.
Yeah, yeah. I'd rather a Ponga or a Pappy, probably other options as well, to be
Yeah.
honest. In terms of Supercoach relevancy, not too much. Jack Whiten, would he be someone you consider trading in?
Well, he scored last week, didn't he? But I'm kind
He
of
got
worried
100
that.
odd last week.
But the game before, he did nothing. He just floundered around, and I'm kind of worried that a lot of the Rabbitohs players are going to have bad games just regularly. They're going to have these absolute fluke games where, like you said, Whiten got 100. Even then, Trell got 69, but the week before I think he was very good.
30 something. Yeah, not
30 something. Yeah, I'm kind of worried the Rabbitohs can be a very, very on and off team this year, and I'm kind of hesitant to touch any of them, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. I would agree with that sentiment in that they're going to be an on and off team. In terms of Jack Whiten, I don't agree about sort of your thinking around that. Just because Jack Whiten, obviously his first game for the club, I don't expect him to go blitz. Like he's going to go ballistic. Like he's going to have a most players will have a quiet game first game. So he could be an option, but just at the price point, I think there's better options. So um, if you're willing to take a risk, if you want to take a pod, I don't think he's the worst option, but not for me. Is there anyone in that pack that interests you? Probably not. Talis Duncan still sitting there, probably not an option at this point. Maybe a Colin Matungi. He's been scoring poorly if he
Uh,
starts to put together good scores, but at this point, I don't really like anyone else in that
yeah,
pack.
I just feel really. I just don't think I can touch any of them. I
Yeah,
think that their performances are going to be too up and down.
yeah. For the Warriors, CNK back, Tuivasa-Sheck back to center. Um, do you think that, like, everyone was saying Tuivasa-Sheck looks really good, but his Supercoach scored in, like, it was good, but it didn't really reflect how good he
He
looked.
he broke Dylan Lucas's kneecaps. Did you not see that?
Yeah. He,
Yeah, like I think that Tuivasa-Sheck just isn't one of those players that directly translates his performance over to Supercoach very well. Like, remember, you don't get any points if you run, say, 8 meters and pass the ball and then that player gets tackled. Like, I think that's the kind of player Roger is and always will be. He's not going to get the highest scores, but he's still a very good rugby league player.
Rogers probably a player that gets plenty of tackle breaks, gets plenty of try assists, gets plenty of action in the game. The only thing you would miss out is maybe when he just absolutely skins a player, steps them, and they don't get a touch on him, doesn't get a tackle break there. But I think he's still a very super coach relevant player, still averaging 64 and a half. And I'm very happy that I have him. Not a player you need to be trading in, I don't think, but I'm very happy that I do have him. Um, with CNK back, you can obviously trade to a peaky out right away. I just held him because like he's not gonna be an AE, so I think he's fine to just hold. But yeah, definitely you can trade him out. In terms of their halves, Tamari Martin, Luke Metcalf is Tamari Martin. If you owned Luke Metcalf, you'd be disappointed. Do you think Tamari Martin makes their team better, worse, or by a lot? Or
I think he's comparable enough to Luke Metcalf where it doesn't really matter too much. I think Metcalf is the better player, but Tamari Martin isn't really that much worse.
Yeah, I think Metcalf's been super strong, but I kind of agree that he's like tomorrow night's going to be a good replacement. So you're not complaining too much if you're a Warriors fan in how they're going to perform. And I think CNK being back is going to be a massive boost. So I think they are stronger this week than they were last week.
And
Uh,
also, again, remember from a Wise perspective, if anything does go bad in the halves, they always have Harris Tavita as well on the bench. He's is he
yeah.
14 in this game?
I'm sure. No, he's in the 21, so he'll probably be 18th man. I think that's what
Oh,
happened
okay.
last week. He was 18th man. He got activated or something.
Well, I don't think
Or
he.
maybe didn't get activated. I can't remember.
I can't remember either. But again, Harris Tavita is also a very serviceable six.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be too worried if even if Tamario Martin goes down, if Sean Johnson goes down temporarily, the players they've got can do a job.
Yeah. I'll just quickly talk to SJ. I brought him in because, like I've already mentioned, but I brought him in. I just think his scores will start to uptick now, especially with the goal kicking. I think it's a perfect time to bring him in because he had that drop in price. So if you still had Hines and Clear, he would be the guy I go to. I will get into my bet in a second, but I think the Warriors play well in this game. So, yeah, big fan of him in this fixture. I think Warriors have decent fixtures coming up as well. I'll double check that. But what do you think about SJ?
I was considering him as well, but at this stage, I'm happy to wait a week or two just because his break even is so ridiculously high at the moment.
Yeah.
I just don't think again, if you want him, get him in now. If you want him for the long term, that doesn't really matter. But if you want to save a little bit of money, feel free to just hold on a week or two. That's what I'm thinking anyway.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said his break even's ridiculously high because what did you say it was 98 or something?
What was 90 something from memory?
But like if you think about it, he's a 662K player, so he's priced at like a 70. That's not that high for the player that he is. Oh no, he's break even 74, so he's almost priced at his break even.
I
So
still think it's a bit too high. I think it's not going to go too further up, too far down. So I'm not too stressed about
he's
it.
not gonna make or lose any like he's not
Yeah,
gonna make or lose much money this week. So if you want to go in this week, that's fine.
yeah,
But then his fixtures from here on out are mainly in New Zealand, so they generally play better at Go Media. So
yeah.
that's a good fixture for him. And then they've got the Dragons and then the Titans and then the Knights again. So I like his run of fixtures. So I'm a
You have
big
you
fan of
have
bringing
convinced me.
SJ
I'm
in.
going to have to get in my team as soon as possible.
Yeah. We'll talk betting in this game. Do you want to jump into your bets firstly?
Well, I did mention previously that I think we have some very up and down games. They did well against the Bulldogs, but again, they struggled against the Bulldogs, a team that historically has been good for a couple of years. I I think the Wars end up winning by us, even though they're away from home. And I think it's time for big DWZ to go across at 520.
Yeah. You were saying you think DWZ's due because
Oh, he's definitely due. Statistically, he's due.
he hasn't scored recently. Yeah, for myself, I have the Wise head to head at $1.87 in a same game multi on points bet. Um, the Warriors were good last week, and I think they're going to be better this week. The ins that they have, I really like. CNK was very solid for them last year. I don't think Tamari Martin's a massive downgrade, as I've already spoken to. And I think that the Rabbitohs did not look good at all last week, even though they won. Um, I think because they've had that win, they're not going to be as hungry to get a win. So I definitely prefer the Warriors in this spot. Uh, and with AJ out as well, like their outside backs look awful um, for the bunnies. So yeah, I don't mind your DWZ there either as well, especially with the outside backs of the bunnies. Let's jump into the Seagulls Panthers game. The big out Cleary's still out um, for the Panthers, but no outs for the Seagulls. Quickly talk to last week. Seagulls did not look good last week. They seemed like they had the yips. They had a lot of drop ball. What are your thoughts on
Ball
the
handling
Seagulls?
was, I think ball handling all round was terrible last round, though. No team had good ball handling.
Yeah, it wasn't great across the board.
Yeah,
Seagulls were sort of a prime example. I think Tommy T dropped the ball like 4 or 5 times. Like,
that was shocking to watch. It was just
yeah,
hard.
yeah. Speaking of Tommy T, I think he's a buy, hold, sell.
I think if you have him, keep him in your team at this point. I think it's well, who upgrading to if you had.
Tommy
So
T,
who
you
would your
could,
two fullbacks be in that circumstance?
sorry, you just cut out there. What was that?
Sorry, yes. I think he's a hold at the moment because who are you going to trade him in?
Yep. I
Like
mean, you trade him
he's
like a
again,
Pappy or
he could
someone.
go very big,
Ponga, you could trade him
I
Ponga.
guess, but again, is it really worth it to trade them in if you've got some guy who very much has the capability of going big every week, but sometimes just doesn't show up? I
Yeah,
think this week,
I think there's other flyers to put out this week, but couldn't knock you if you went to Ponga or Pappy or someone like that.
yeah, I still
Maybe
think you may
Pappy.
as well hold him if you have him. Like if you want to captain him, feel free to do so, but he's not the Tommy Turbo of old, but he's still a Tommy Turbo.
Yeah, I'm definitely not captaining. I'll look at either Tommy or Latrell to Pappy next week, most likely. We jump to Luke Brooks. You brought him in. I luckily dodged bringing him in. He
Yeah,
got a 27 or something.
yeah, he did pretty terribly, but I'm not too worried at the moment, given that he seems to be the prime 5'8". Is he 5'8" or halfback?
He's dual both.
Sure, okay. He seems to be a prime player for those positions. So if you have him and he does terribly, don't feel too bad because everyone else has him. He is probably one of the most picked players in the league at this point. He had a bad game, but hold him for a couple more weeks at least. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah, I'll look at his ownership percentage. But yeah, I mean, you're definitely not selling him if you have him. But glad I dodged him in the end because I thought there would be better options. Brooks has 40% ownership percentage, so I'm happy I'm not in that 40 at this point. Yeah, like when I really sat down and thought about it, he hasn't been like lighting the world on fire. So I'm happy that I don't have him. I think if you can wait for a different halfback or 5'8" option, I'd definitely prefer an SJ to him at halfback, and then at 5'8", there's no one I like really. So that's why I flipped Strange up to the 5'8" position. But um, yeah, like you'd be very disappointed as a Brooks owner. I'm very happy I missed that one. One of the few things I've done right so far. Burbo, he's looking like,
Not well.
yeah, he's not scoring well. For mine, it's just a don't play and then hope he gets a try and then trade him out
Yeah, I
once
think
he's
you just have to hold him at this point.
yeah,
He's going to stay in that team because Schuster's definitely not going to play.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I just say keep him, don't play him. But again, like you said, keep him on the bench and just hope he scores some points.
Hold them, don't play. I'd rather trade out like a Salmon or someone like that.
Yeah, the silly salmon who cost me a bet this week, but we won't speak
Yeah,
about that further.
yeah. Looking at the Panthers, do you like? So Taylor May's one that everyone has, and he's been doing poorly at the moment for mine. He's just a hold. Uh, he could be a trade out, but he's a hold for mine. Once they start going down the right, he'll get some more points, I think. He just needs more ball. So I'm happy to hold him and wait and see because I do have other worse things to deal with. What are your thoughts on Taylor May?
He's an outside back for Penrith. Just keep him in there. He'll score points eventually.
Yeah, yeah. Not too much else super coach relevant. Um, obviously Cleary's still out. Cleary confirmed to be back against the Tigers. That's why I like holding Cleary over Hines because he'll be back and probably go massive against the
Yeah.
Tigers. Probably someone you need to target bringing in for that game if you don't have him. But yeah, for mine, Cleary's a hold if you still have him. Let's talk betting in this game.
Yeah,
Uh,
so I think that Manly performance may not have been a one-off. I don't think they show up against the best team in the comp and the winners of basically every league for the next 10 years. So I'm going to say Panthers 13 plus and Taruva for another double. That'll get me $11.
yeah. Respectfully, I think that bet sucks. I think the Panthers are a team you can't be playing this week at all. I can understand people not wanting to play the game because Manly didn't look good. So I'm perfectly happy if people are saying they don't want to play the game at all. But Panthers are a team you can't play.
Yeah.
Off that big of a win, well, off that win last week with Schneider, everyone just thinks, oh, the Panthers are unbeatable. So there's no way you can't. There's no way you can bet against the Panthers because there's even with players out, they can still beat the Roosters, who are probably like one of the best teams in the comp at the moment as well. So people just think, oh, they're unbeatable. But no, like, if you actually watch the game, they played out of their skin in that game. Like if that game's replayed over and over, I don't think it necessarily goes the same way. And they're not going to play 10 out of 10 every week. They A lot of the time they play 8 out of 10 at least defensively every
Yeah.
week, but they're not going to be 10 out of 10 every week. For mine,
Yeah.
I really like Manly plus 4.5 in this spot because I think the Manly team last week will want to bounce back heavily after the performance they put in. And its basic betting logic is uh, the Panthers won a game that they maybe shouldn't have won, so favour's going to swing in their way a lot. And then the Manly lost a game that they probably shouldn't have lost, so they're going to be heavily out of favour. So Manly plus 4.5. It's currently $1.75. I think that the money comes for the Panthers more as it gets closer to the game. So I think that line like goes further. So you should be able to get plus 4.5 at around $1.90. But that one's a wait for the game day and see. So yeah, for mine, it's Manly in this one. Also back at Brookie, where they love to play. So Manly for mine in this one. Let's jump into the next game, which is Dolphins
So before we
Tigers.
get on to that, though, is this something you're willing to side bet over? Say the line of 4.5 in Manly's favour?
I'll happily take them. Yeah, I'll happily
Okay,
side bet the
definitely.
line if you want.
Okay, definitely. Let's get involved in that.
Yeah, cool.
You should leave the punishment in the comments. We probably won't end up showing each other's cocks,
Yeah,
but we'll do most of the things. Let us
something a
know.
bit more PC.
Yeah, let us know what the payouts are.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, coming to the next game, Dolphins Tigers, bit of a poo slinger game. Although first versus sixth, I think it is. So maybe it's not maybe these teams are good, but
Yeah, I don't know.
historically they seem shit.
This season's just proper whack. We just need to admit
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Outs for this game, both Platt and Galvin, both of my 5/8s in Supercoach was really annoying. One week I try to like do something different, take a big risk in getting both of those boys. Well, I had Galvin already, but in bringing Platt in as well, it just backfired.
Oh
So
no, that sucks. That sucks so bad.
forced to trade Plath out. If I had just one of them, like either one of them, I'm holding because they're both missing 2 weeks. So if you have either one of them and then another 5/8, just hold for now. But in terms of the rest of the team, Hammer, would he be someone that you look at?
Is he dual center wing fullback or is he just fullback?
Hammer is, yeah.
Okay, I definitely would consider him to join my center wing pack at some point, but again, I think he's a bit overvalued. I believe it's
He's at
700,
seven now. He's at 690 now. So yeah.
690. I still think he's a bit overvalued. I'd probably get him at 650.
Yeah.
For now, though, I'm happy to wait and see how it does. If he becomes a must-have, I will get him in my team.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of him at all. Like he scored, I think, 200s ever or something, or 300s ever.
Did
Um,
score 100 last week, but
he scored
first
100
round, he had
last
an
week.
absolute stinker.
Yeah. So he scored 100 last week, but he doesn't score hundreds. I'm not a fan of him. The Dolphins, you look at the teams they've been playing, they haven't been playing awfully strong teams. They've got teams in a good position to beat them. And they're first off a win against the Dragons and then the win last week and then a bye. So like,
Yeah,
even though they're first and they might seem like they're flying, they're not.
yeah.
They're definitely not the best team in the comp, obviously, but they're not anywhere near the like a top of the table team. So someone like a Hammer, to be honest, any Dolphins assets, I wouldn't be looking at buying.
Yeah, no, definitely. I do get that as well.
Yeah.
So what about Bostock then?
Sorry, yeah, Bostock. Bostock you could buy. I luckily owned and held. Yeah, Bostock you could buy, but his break even's great. So that's the only reason you'd be bringing in Bostock.
I think Bostock's break even might be -2.
Yeah,
I think it
he's
might.
good.
Yeah, but the thing is with Bostock, if you have him well done, again, I wouldn't consider him keeping him in the long run, but because I'm not sure about this, but I think his like just base stats aren't good, but he keeps on scoring tries for that team. Um, yeah, I would probably consider him if you want him in the short term because he probably will raise to about 600K. But after that, Bob's your uncle, depending on how he does. Is it Robert's
Yeah,
your father?
yeah. Robert's father's brother. His break even is actually -41. So definitely
Oh,
a play you could bring in. He's got a like very low break even. So definitely someone you could be looking at. I'd be looking at Talangi first because he's got a -55. But Bostock, not a bad option to trade in. Also, I'm lucky I started with him. It would have been best for people to bring him in last week if they wanted to, but I'm playing him again this week another decent matchup for him. And if you have him, you're probably playing him again this week. Let's jump into the Tigers team. There's a few Supercoach relevant players. Tape was the first one. I
Yeah,
don't
I can see in
He
the
got a
notes you just
16 or
called him a
something.
bum.
Yeah, he's a bum. He got 16 or something like that last round. So definitely not someone you should be looking at this point. Um, he was at 200K and he made 12K. Like not someone you should be looking at. Someone that you might want to be looking at though is the other center, which is Justin Olam. Would you consider a Justin Olam trade in
Well, how much is he at the moment?
400 odd? Because he hasn't gone up or down because he's only played, that was only his second game. 423.
423. So again, he will probably rise to 500 something.
Yeah, negative 40 break even projected to go up by 80K. So yeah, it'll be around
Yeah.
500.
Again, if you want him short term, definitely go for it. I see him scoring a bunch more points, but keep in mind he's a center playing for the West Tigers. There is
Yeah.
no guarantee he's going to get points in and out every week. He's killing it right now, but will he kill it week in, week out? I don't think so.
Yeah, I like him as an option. I think the Tigers have been good, and I can see them doing well. Galvin out this week doesn't help him though. I think Galvin's been one of the sort of big points of their attack, and he's looked really strong. So he's not a slam dunk this week. That's why I'm not all over him. I prefer Manu and a Talangi trade in over an Olam, but definitely can't knock anyone reading me. He's probably would have been after those two my next option to bring in at center wing. But he could easily be the type. Like he scored a few tries, so he could easily
Yeah,
um, not not perform. So if you can avoid him, I would. There's better options, the more
yeah,
consistent
definitely.
options. Um, yeah, so Galvin out. Galvin's a hold if you have, as we've already mentioned. I think the Tigers maybe perform a little bit worse without Galvin. Uh, One of my trade-ins last week was Appy Coruscant. Disappointing, 40 something. But like I'm happy that my hookers now are set. I've got Green and Appy, and I can just hold. Um, yeah, Appy not really trading this week, but
Yeah,
if you have him, just
I'm
hold.
considering him in the future just because, but then again, I'm not sure if I need to at the moment because my hookers are the good Lussick and the good Brayley at the moment, Blake Brayley. I'm not entirely sure as to if I should keep them for the rest of the game or keep them for the rest of the year or possibly upgrade to Appy at this stage. I don't know.
Yeah, which Lussick is it that you have again? What's his first name?
Matthew?
That's it, Matthew Lussick.
Yeah,
Joey Lussick. Roll the clip from the other week when you said it was someone else.
I
No.
was taking the piss.
Just looking at the Tigers team as well, Latu Finau's on the bench now as well as Samuela Finau. That's just cover. As soon as Galvin's back, Galvin will go back to 6 and Bud
Yeah,
Sullivan will go back to the 14. So don't
no,
put too
no
much
touch.
stock into Latu Finau being on the bench, even though he's a gun and he will be good in the future. He's not one to really watch for now. Anyone else Supercoach relevant for yourself?
Not that I can think of, no.
Yeah, so jump into your bet now.
Look, it worked last week. I am doubling up. I am going Finns 13 plus and Bostock and Hammer anytime try scorer. I think they've found some confidence. The Dolphins, are they at Redcliffe this week?
Uh, would be. Uh,
Potentially, it doesn't really matter.
Suncorp,
The way
Suncorp.
I think Suncorp doesn't matter. I think they will win at home, and I think they're going to win comfortably. So I'm doubling up, same bet as last week, and I will keep on running this bet until it dies.
Yeah, for myself, no bet on the game. That both teams are off wins. Hard to get a read on their performance. If Galvin was playing the Tigers, would probably be a team that I like here because I don't rate. Like I think the Dolphins are overrated for where they're at. So the Tigers would be a Tigers plus line would be something that I'd be looking at playing, but I can't really play it with Galvin out. So yeah, not a game that I'm playing. I was happy to let that one go through the keeper. We'll jump into the next game now. Cowboys Titans. Um, the Cowboys very very short in this game. Let's talk
And
about some of
deservedly
this.
so after the
Yep,
performance last week from the Titans.
yep, yeah. So some of the super coach options. If you got a Scotty Drink and Val Holmes, you're probably cheering and I'd probably be very seriously considering captaining, but I don't have any of those options, unfortunately. Do you
Yeah.
own any Cowboys stock?
I own Nanai, and Nanai's it. I like him through. So not Nanai. I have Cotter, who's
Yep.
absolutely killing it at the moment. Again, he's getting good minutes, especially now that Lolo's not really playing much footy anymore, which is kind of a strange thing. And in case you haven't already, why do you still have Lolo? Yeah, I'm considering getting Val Holmes, but I think he's too expensive to even try to now. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, kind of agree with that sentiment. Some of those players are very expensive now. Valheim's 830.
Yeah,
Still not the worst trading. Like I think they still have good fixtures. I think he goes 100 plus this round. So yeah, not the worst trading. If you have him, you're absolutely cheering. So
yeah, yeah,
player that you could
definitely.
think about, but yeah, not trading him, but yeah, definitely captaining Holmes or Drinky if I have one of them. Um, in terms of the rest of the team, how did Finafiliaki do? Um, he
Yeah,
hit
in terms of we'll see.
348 now. He scored a 31. Yeah, so he did have that it was sort of what we understood. He had that score last like the week, like where he had the 57 with the try, and then you take that try out and he's not scoring that well. And
Not
it's sort of
not good.
exactly what we expected. He's gone back to scoring a 30.
Yeah,
So yeah, like I wasn't keen on him and I'm still not keen on him. So
definitely not.
glad I went a KPP and hopefully other people watching this went KPP as well last week.
Yeah, hopefully.
Um, for the so I had Cotter as well. Cotter's just a hold. He churned out 50. I'm happy to just hold him
He
in the
gets
front row
base
there.
50s. That's all you really need to matter. If a player gets base 50, you keep him in team. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. In terms of the Titans, are there any super coach options you think are relevant?
I mean, I want to get David for feeder, but I want to wait a couple of weeks because
Definitely.
he had some awesome performances last week. Same with last year, sorry. Same with Tino,
Yeah.
but they just don't have the players around them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, he's still off the bench, so hopefully he has some shit scores and then loses money, and then you can think about bringing him in.
yeah,
Titans
because
at the
he
moment,
he was probably at some of
honestly,
the best attacking stats out of any forward last year.
we did. Yeah, he was like one of the highest averaging players in the game last year. But yeah, Titans in general, I'm just not in touch with the Temple poll at the moment. JC would be someone you could think about at 5'8" because he's got that 5'8" dual. Because 5'8" as a position is so bad at the moment, but like I already mentioned, I'm just moving strange up because I hate the options in 5'8", but he is one of the ones that I'm going to monitor and maybe think about. But just with how the Titans have been going, he's not someone you can touch at the moment, I don't think.
I think he's a little too injury prone as well, so I'd probably stay a bit away from him.
Yeah. Uh, let's talk. I mean, yeah, he has had that injury, but I'm not. You can't really think too much about injuries when you're
That's true.
making trades. But let's talk betting now because there's not too much else super coach relevant. Um, myself, I can't bet the game. The line is like 16 and a half or something crazy like that.
That's a
Uh,
respectable line. It'll probably get up.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's crazy and it'll still probably get up. Um, Cowboys off a loss, so you can definitely think about playing the Cowboys this week if you wanted to. But like, you're never gonna get value, I don't think, out of a game where anyone's playing the Titans at the moment. So
No.
I'm just not like I don't know what type of performance they're gonna put out, so I'm just not playing the game. But yeah, Cowboys could win by 40. Like I have no idea really what's gonna happen in this game. But
Well,
that's sort
I
of
think I know exactly what's going to happen. I think they'll win by 40.
yeah,
And my
okay.
bet is that the Cows line of negative 16 and a half. I couldn't work out how to actually bet on 30 and a half. So then I've also got Nanai, Drink Holmes, Talangi, and Felt to score at 45.75.
Yeah,
That'd
yeah,
be an absolute monstrous bet if it gets up.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So holding the try scorers there. Uh, I guess if you want to play it a longer odds bet, like that's a fine way to play it. But yeah, I'm just not playing the game.
Yeah, fair
And
enough.
then this sort of leads into the last game of the round, which is the Raiders versus the Eels. The Eels playing the last game of the round again. Um, Super coach relevant, your boy Zach Hosking not playing, thus you
Yeah.
are trading him out. What did you say you made? 120K?
I made about 120k off him, so I'm not too annoyed by that. But what and anyway, and then it just happened he was out this week, so not too bad. But is there a reason why he's out?
Hosking?
Yeah.
I think he had an injury. I can't remember.
Yeah, well, hopefully that means Big Red gets more minutes. Absolutely love that fella.
You Big Red's #1 fan.
I am quite literally the #1 fan of Big Red.
Yeah, I'm trying to see something on Zach. I don't know, but it doesn't really matter. He's out. I think. Yeah, if you had him, probably trade him out, paying 100K. So I think it's fine. I still not a proponent of getting him in the first place because I don't think it's worth it for that 100K. But it's an extra 100K in the bank. Either way, Savage continues to do well. What did he score?
Scored 60 something this week, so pretty
He had a
decent
try
score.
though, right?
He had a try, yeah.
So like 60 with a try is that's fine as a center wing, but
Yeah.
it's not like setting your world on fire. It's not at Bostock type levels.
Not a Militalo at all, no.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so we did have a try. Yeah, and 60. So like not a player I'm thinking about at all. Strange, I think is a hold and maybe I could even sell Strange. So I'd move Strange up to the 6th position. And
Fair
then
enough.
I think hopefully I can sell him in the 2 weeks' time. I could go Plath again. I don't know. I think I'm a bit scarred by that. Or I could what I'll likely do is just go to a gun 5'8" and just see in 2 weeks who's looking quality there.
Yeah, no,
Happy to
I
play
agree
him.
with you. I'm just going to keep him on my bench. I think he'll probably get to about 450K.
Yeah,
I'm not going to play him, but he will just slowly rise in price over time.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have to play him for the next 2 weeks by moving him up there, or I
Yeah,
could trade him out or we'll do something different next week, but we'll see.
yeah.
For mine is just a hold for now. Morgan Smithy's still there.
I think
I'm
Smithies
holding.
might be a bit of a sell now. What do you think?
Hold for me. Like he did a little bit better output. Definitely don't mind selling him. Like he's going to be a sell. He's going to be someone I think about selling in the near future. But it's the same as like a Jamin Salmon, right? If you don't need to trade him, like you don't like if you have other trades you need to make, you just hold them because like
Yeah,
he's
it's
not
going to
going
hold in price. Again, if you want to get rid of them, you probably can, but
to.
I don't think they're going to go up or down in value.
Yeah, exactly. He's knocking out like a 40 every week, so he's a fine hold. Um, yeah, in terms of the rest of their team, not too much relevant. The Eels, there's some interesting relevancy with the Eels. Gutherson looked good, and Gutherson scores really well without Mitch Moses there. Would a Gutherson be a player, maybe if you had like a Trell or someone like that you could think about going to?
Well, keep in mind that Gutho almost had the top try scorer last year. He had an insane amount of assists as well. His attacking stats are super high, but he doesn't do much defensively. I mean, that is kind of expected for a fullback, but he doesn't really run the ball much unless it's a very clear cut attacking opportunity. So
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah, I feel like Gutherson still does a lot. Like obviously for a fullback, he does a lot in all aspects of the game. He's a very involved player. He has a massive part of. If you're saying he doesn't run the ball a lot, he's like, we'll watch the game on the weekend. Like
yeah,
he's a killer. I think he does run the ball a lot. He often averages really high in meters. So yeah, I don't know that that's true, and I think he's a really good option at least for a short term play. He's someone I'm definitely going to think about for next week. It'll be him or a Pappenhausen or someone like that for next week. For me, trading out either Latrell or Turbo or both maybe. But yeah, you could definitely bring him in this week if you didn't have other fires, other more important fires to put out.
yeah. No, I guess you could. No, I have no
Um,
issue with bringing him in, but
Probably the big talking point for mine for this game, Blaze Talangi, I think is player of the week, and you're not bringing him in.
don't have a choice. I need to fix up a couple of holes in my front row, second row forwards. I've also got Kyle Flanagan at 6. Talangi is he
Talangi's center
a
wing.
dual? Sorry.
Talangi's just a center wing on Supercoach.
Oh, is he just a center wing?
Yeah.
Guess you could twist my arm a little bit. I could bring him in, see if I could hold a couple players.
I think you're
Yeah.
insane if you don't bring him in.
Well, what's his? He didn't get too much last week, did he?
He could have scored 20 and I would still be bringing him in, but he scored 40 something,
Yeah. Well,
48. Yeah,
I'm just
48.
not too sold on him being a long-term prospect. That's all.
It doesn't have to be a long term for us. So he's 200K, averaging 57.5.
Yeah, I'm just not sure who to sell as well in that center wing position. I'm pretty happy with my players there. Like, I'm not
It
going to get rid of Daddy
could be a
Heisman.
case of you selling one of your second rowers, then you flip, or like if you have a second rower that can flip around, like you
That's
can
true.
sell a second, like you move one of your second rowers up to sorry, one of your second row center wings up to second row, and then you bring in a Talangi. Like you could do
That is
something
true.
like that.
I guess I could do with the extra 400k that it'll eventually bring in. So,
Yeah.
I think you may have twisted my arm a bit. I'll have to change my tips. I'll change my tips. Change my tips.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Um, yeah, so yeah, for mine, definitely someone everyone should be bringing in this round. Like whatever you can do to bring him in. I don't care what other problems you have. Use Jules, use whatever you can. Talangi needs to come in this round. Um, Joey Lussick, what did he put out? I ended up going Lussick to a Appy, and
Not
that
a good
looked like a
score
really
from
good
him.
trade beforehand, but Appy didn't end up going.
29, I believe.
Yeah, so 29. Honestly, yeah, I'm not too mad. I took Lussick out for an Appy then. Appy had a slightly better game. I would have been absolutely stoked about it, but
Yeah, that was the thing with that is that's his lowest score so far, and I think most people have Lussick on there as one of their starting hookers, so I wouldn't be
yeah,
too worried about that.
yeah, 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 definitely.
Again, players will
Um,
always have a bad week. Don't freak out when one player who scored 70 one week scores 29 the next.
yeah, yeah. Sean Lane is one that a lot of people will have of
Yeah,
mine. He's just a continued
just hold him.
polls.
Yeah.
Um, he's banging
Um,
out like all right scores. He got a 62 on the weekend, so you have to be happy with that at his price point. So yeah, just another hold in the position. A player you could trade out, but yeah, he looks fine.
yeah,
I'm
looks
happy
fine.
with
Keep
him.
him.
Yeah. Anything else Supercoach relevant for yourself?
Not really that I can think of. There's no other real rookies other than Blaze Talangi,
Danny Levi got another try.
Danny Levi.
Yeah. The top. What did you say? Like one of the best hookers in the comp.
I did not say that. I said he's got one of the worst. How does he keep on doing it? He's got one of the worst dummy half scoots. It never, until this year, it just didn't work, and somehow it's working now. Like somehow he's done it a million times, and the million and one and million and third time it's worked.
Pretty sure he did say he's one of the better hookers in the comp. I might chuck the clip in when I
Okay,
edit
find
this.
the footage.
Anyway, so yeah, what even happened with Danny Levi? He's come out, he did shit at Newcastle. He was a joke there, would continually disrupt play by just doing dummy half dives for no reason. I think he's made probably 2 tries from that in his career. I mean, maybe if lucky, maybe 3 actually. That's probably a bit nice. Yeah. But anyway, so then he goes to Brisbane. Is it Brisbane?
I bounced around a bit.
He
Yeah,
bounced around a bit, did nothing. Like, essentially somehow ended up at Canberra for 2 years. And now his second or third year now, he's finally somehow one of the better hookers in the game.
So for yourself, what did you have?
Yep. So I've got Raiders. I think they bounce back, even though a lot of people said last week they were the faders. I think they come back and Ricky Stewart kind of slaps the bottoms of those boys and tells them to keep on playing football. So yeah, I think the Raiders win with Hudson Young going over. He's probably a bit due at this point, and Savage to score again. That is 825 total.
Yeah, for myself, I don't love playing the game, but if I was going to play it, I'm playing Raiders half time, Eels full time. So a bit of a fun one there.
That is a bit of an omen bet.
Yeah, Faders
They
seem
should
to be
start
back.
calling it up.
Yeah, Faders seem to be back, so that's why I like that style of bet. I will find the best odds closer to the game, and I'll leave it in the comments of this video. And I should have it up on the screen, but yeah, it'll be around $8, I think, for that one. So similar odds to yourself there. But yeah, faders are back, and Eels I think are looking okay without Moses. So yeah, it's just a bit more of a fun one to jump on there. But that sort of brings us to a
Cheeky one.
close for this round.
So you're saying you left the silly photo for last?
The what?
It's like you basically put these bets on now. You've gone and now for a silly one.
Yeah, now a silly one. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But I think still a bit of logic in that bet. But yeah, bit of a silly one at the end. Yeah, so I've got the side bet on the Seagulls Panthers line, the 4.5 line there. Any other side bets you want to have, or just that one?
Not I can think of anything in particular.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not I can think of now.
Yeah, okay. Well, this way, if we have just the one side bet,
Yeah, we'll
someone
keep
will
it simple.
someone will definitely win, or one of us will definitely win and lose. Yeah. So leave us something in the comments what you want us to, what you want the forfeit to be. Make it something that we can actually do.
Yeah, we're not showing you our penis, but
Yeah. But leave that in the comments as always. Like, comment, subscribe. Give us any pointers you think we can add, or anything we can do to improve. Um, do you have anything else to add, Hart?
apologies for the sickness, and we should be back to regular programming next week. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. That's everything. We'll go fuck ourselves.